Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Coaches and Content, where we help coaches get clients through content. Today, I have an amazing guest, very inspirational person. He's personally helped me with a lot more than he'll ever know, and that's why I had to have him on this podcast. I have Theautis Persons on today, and today we're going to talk about how to overcome obstacles and take on new challenges. Because as we overcome obstacles and conquer challenges, it pushes us to do more. And Theautis is really a prime example of this. So Theautis, how you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous.
And I really appreciate you. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, thanks for having me on, Zach. I really appreciate the opportunity just to, just to be human and share how I got from point A to point B.
For sure. Yeah. So first, I always like to give people background of my guest and why you should care about what they have to say, because they're always awesome people. So Theautis is a father, a husband. He has his own real estate brokerage with his wife, Tracy. He also is a madman. He's always training. He's training for ironmans, triathlons. For those that don't know, Ironman is what is exactly an Ironman? It's swimming, biking, and running, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get into Theautis' story of how he went from, having his family and having a good job to transitioning to his own real estate brokerage, and how he gets up at 5 a.m. every morning, whether he wants to or not, and puts in the work. And that's why we love Theautis, because he puts in the work.
Right on, Zach. So where do you like to start, Zach? Because it's a loaded topic, so I'll do my best to consolidate, you know what I mean, and really touch on some key points just to, I won't say dumb it down, but just make it so that it's tangible for people to grasp.
Yeah, so I'm a huge. Do you like movies and comic books and stuff? I don't know if we ever talked about that. I figured you would. I figured.
I got this from my coach. It says billionaire in the making, but
Nice.
Hulk is one of my favorite dudes. So yes, comic books.
Because I asked that because I always like to get people's origin stories. Every hero has their origin story, how they've been through something that usually some type of event or some pain that transformed them into a superhero.
Right.
And, so that's what I love to start my interviews with. So with you, I would love to just talk about how you transitioned from, you were in the union and you were doing a job with your hand, but you were making good money, but working so many hours, you had a family, and you decided that you wanted to make the change and make things better for your family. So I would love to talk to people about that, from doing that job to transitioning to your own brokerage.
Oh, absolutely. First I want to say that, getting into the union saved my life. I was a, young, smart little punk kid who thought he knew it all, but had nothing. And, the old time journeymans, they taught me, early was on time was late, and late was unacceptable. And how to just, some of these journeymen, they couldn't read or write, but they can build anything out of metal. You know what I mean? They're just like these quiet, like heroes that go unacknowledged all the time. And they taught me how to become a man. They taught me how to show up for myself, for my family. Even as an apprentice, I remember getting there and being excited to be in the trades. I didn't touch a tool for a whole month. I swept all day. I cleared out garbage all day. I mean, it was like the true prototype work. Be mean to the apprentice and gradually earn your stripes. And that's how I was brought up in the trades. And I remember one day, this one guy told me, he was like, I don't care if you're just going to get some water. You better have a flipping pep in your step. So whenever I moved, I'm bouncing. You know what I mean? I'm going to get some water. I might be doing absolutely nothing, but I got to bounce to my step. And it really just carried over into my work, And I just remember, I was new to sheet metal, but the guys that I was working with, they were third, fourth generation, sheet metal workers. So not only was I competing against them, in order to keep a job, I had to be not just as good, I had to be better. So the trades taught me how to, like, okay, if I can't go back home and say, hey, baby, I got laid off because I didn't cut it. So I had to put in that extra work in the trades, getting slapped around by the old timers, getting cussed out by the old timers, waking up at 3:30 to drive 2.5 hours to a job site, only to get cussed out by a foreman with a small men's complex. And I did that for 10 years. Now, don't get me wrong. That was like, I was earning my stripes, but I was also enjoying learning a new craft and learning how to build all these amazing things with my hands. Like, I didn't even like math in high school, but when I got to the trades, I learned to apply math in a way. Now, when I go outside and I look at buildings, I'm looking at true lines and angles, and I'm doing equations in my head. It's like looking at the matrix now because of my experience with the trades. But long story short, it got to a point where I was making great money. I mean, from a guy who dropped out in college, who went through a bout with alcohols and drugs, who was homeless, to get in the trades, to finish their apprenticeship 1 year early because of my skill set and my work ethic pushed me through the school and I got a year knocked off, to finally become a journeyman and making great money, great benefits, to only come to the realization that this is not for me. It's like I worked so hard to achieve, getting my life back together. And I was ready to retire, in the trades. I'm like, at 52, you get to retire. That was everyone's, claim to fame. We get to retire early at 52, which is scary because I'll be 48 this year. And that's only 4 years from now that I'll be 52. So I was like, whoa.
Well, how old were you at the time when you learned all this? Like, you were probably in your 20s, right?
Oh, absolutely. I got in at 21. And when I started coming to the realization that I need to do something different, I was around 28,
Right. So at 28, you're like, well, I can do this until I'm 52 and I can retire, but do I really want to do this until I'm 52? And I guess the answer is no.
Well, it was one of those things like, wow, okay, I got a nice paycheck, but I'm always gone. And I remember, I didn't grow up with my dad. And, at the time my daughter was, I think she was 5. And I was just thinking that, man, when I was a teenager, I was a hot mess as a young man. And
Me
I
too.
wanted to make sure that I was present for my family, especially my daughter, because if something were, like, I always said that if she does something stupid, it won't be because she didn't know. You know what I mean? She made the decision. But I felt that I wasn't in her life in order to give her that type of mentorship for her to have the self-confidence to, you know what I mean? She won't be naively going into the situation. She's going to be knowing exactly what's going on because daddy's going to tell her the raw, uncut version, not the schoolhouse version, the raw, uncut version.
Right. Got to keep it real.
Right. And, but really what helped me, Zach, is one night I went to a men's meeting. My friend asked me to come to this men's meeting, and there was a group of individuals. Some of them were doctors, some were lawyers, some were accountants, and there's this real estate guy there. And they were talking about quality of life and setting their own schedule. And I'm like, quality of life, like set your own schedule. For me, was like, if I wanted to volunteer to go on my kid's trip, I had to take a long walk down the corridor to knock on, the foreman's office, you know what I mean? And ask for permission to take time off, get cussed out, and then say, all right, go ahead. You know what I mean? So that really intrigued me that, wait a minute, there's another way for me to do this. And although my heart was, although, I was making good money, my heart was no longer in the trades, And when I decided to make that leap and go into real estate, everyone thought I was crazy for doing it. And I felt that I would be crazy if I didn't go,
Yeah. I think it's a great message. And the message really is that there's you don't want to limit yourself. You don't know what's out there. Like, you're making good money, but your quality of life wasn't where it was at. And you were looking for something. Well, maybe you didn't know you were looking for something better, but something better found you. And I think that kind of sums up who you are as a person, is that you're always trying to grow and take it to the next level, which is why I had to have you on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, because I could have, to be honest, I could still be in the trades and it'd be different. I know it would look different. I actually have pictures of myself. I got younger after I left, But what I can tell you about that transition, Zach, it was one of the most scariest things I did in my life. But I told myself that, hey, if it doesn't work out, I will take that long walk down the corridor and knock on that door and humbly ask for my job back and work my way up the totem pole again. See, I was willing to do that for my family. And when I got into real estate, first of all, I didn't know. I thought it was I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't know how to type. You know what I mean? I was on Mavis Beacon, like, I could type my name real good, but that was my claim to fame, right? I didn't know how to type. I had no idea what it was, but for whatever reason, I believed that it would give me, my family, more opportunities, and for me to be more present in my kids' lives,
So I'm sure you were scared, but I'm sure deep down you knew that you were going to be successful, because when you trust yourself, you know what you're capable of, right?
Absolutely. And, like I said before, if it didn't work out, I was going to humbly go back and ask for my job back. So I knew that was my, I won't say, I guess it was a plan B at the time, or a last resort. You know what I mean? But there was something inside of me that just said, you have to try this. And then also what the trades gave me that I brought to real estate, I'm like, first of all, I'm looking at a lot of the agents. I'm like, they're lazy. I'm like, I've been getting up at 3:30 in the morning and driving, 2.5 hours to a job site, and getting these impossible things done. I'm like, all right, so I got work ethic and I know how to tell the truth. Those were my two key components for getting in this business. Bust my and be brutally honest, look people in the eye, and don't give them that limp, fishy, slippery handshake, that some people have. This kind of like, yeah.
There's millions of people out there who are probably going through right now what you've gone through. So I'm curious, what's your advice for people who might be going through a similar situation where they know there's something else out there? Maybe they don't know how to find it. They're too scared to take the risk. Luckily for you, I guess fate kind of guided you in the right direction. And I feel like the universe sends us signs. You just have to pick up on them. But what would be advice for someone who's in a similar situation that you were in?
Well, a lot of times I ask myself mortality questions. I've been, my mom passed away at 37 years old, from multiple sclerosis. And I've seen a lot of people, die earlier than they planned to, right? So it's like, I think we, as a society, we think that we're going to have time to eventually get to whatever that is we're holding off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for me, I have so much proof that the people who put life on hold to do something else and plan on going back to that, whatever it is, it didn't work out that way, So my advice would be, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen if you go for your dreams? Are you going to, and here's the thing too, what I've learned is, when you tell someone what your plan is, there's 3 ways they're going to respond. And this should let you know whether or not that person can help you get there. If you say, hey, I'm about to quit my good construction job and go into real estate. If that person goes, man, you're crazy, that's a good job, what's wrong with you? That's not the person I need to be talking to, right? If I tell that to another person and they just get a blank look like, That's not the person I need to talk to. But what if but there are some people that go, wow, you know what? That's a great idea. Have you thought about this? Here are some people I know who've done the same thing. Matter of fact, I've done it too. Come on, let me, you know what I'm saying? That's the people we want in our corner when we're going to take ourselves out from a place that where we're comfortable and have it all figured out to this unknown place. We want to make sure that we have the right tribe to support that.
Yeah, that's what I love, the stuff you post on social media, because it's so selfless and you're just sharing. But I see the response you get on everything you post, and it sounds like you have a lot of those type of people in your corner.
Absolutely. It's absolutely, it's just so necessary. I mean, and the other part about it too is when you are constantly evolving to be the better version of yourself, a lot of times people don't like you for that, you know? And at first I was like, man, that's, I'm a hugger. I'm like, I'll hug you. I'll give you my last dollar, shirt off my back. Like, why are you hating? You know what I mean? But what happens is if that person, when you like say, okay, I want to elevate, sometimes those people in your circle, in our circles, it makes them look at what they're not doing. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
sometimes you're not ready to look in the mirror on that level. So they're like, man, come on, like time out, bro. Like, we can't do that right now. I'm not ready to be exposed. I'm too busy looking good. You know what I'm saying? I'm too
Yeah.
busy being a dressed up garbage can. But once again, it's like when we're on that journey to continue to evolve, and it's not so that I can be like, I'm some superhero, is because what I've learned is there's a very uh, intimate thing that happens in the process of discovery, and it makes you want to reach out, share, and help other people do the same thing.
So do you feel like were you always like this, always aspiring for more and always looking to the next thing, or is this something you developed as you got older? Because I know for me personally, I developed that as I got older. And once I kind of tuned in to that mindset, it just changed my life. And I'm always looking for the next thing. So I'm curious, what your experience was like that.
I definitely didn't start there. Like I said, this is a whole nother topic, but I am in recovery. I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict. And by going to that place where I saw the worst of humanity, including myself, I was a part of that party. It changes you. It can either destroy you for life because it's a lot to be able to take on. And it's an extreme that most people don't recover from. You know what I mean? But I came out of it like, I want to live. I truly want to live my life. And a lot of times what people do is we chase goals, right? We chase money, we get the relationship, the house, the car. Well, for me, instead of chasing those things, I'm realizing that, especially once I got into real estate, I realized that, damn, I'm not motivated by money. Like all this time, I'm like, I want to build a team. Each year I want to build my plan. And, I want to make more money. And it just got more empty for me on the inside. You know what I'm saying? So fulfillment, and I'm not saying at all that, I don't like
Money, yeah.
trust me.
Yeah.
But it just helped me prioritize what actually gives me fulfillment, and then also I understand too, Zach, that no pressure, no diamonds, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of people like want to experience like this amazing thing, but you can't get there and still be in your comfort zone. So the things that I do is really about just putting constant, I feel like we all have the raw material to become a diamond, but then we don't put ourselves in the right situations to create the pressure to actually create it.
Right. And it's up to us to push ourselves and become this diamond. And that's something I want to talk to you about too, is how you've been training for this Ironman triathlon. And I took notes. So it's a 2.4-mile swim,
Mm-hmm.
112-mile bike ride, and a 26-mile run. And I don't think people have even walked 26 miles in their lives, let alone doing all that. So what actually, and I think what your first one's in August, I think you said.
Well, for this year, it's not my first one ever. No,
What,
this is
when was your first one?
that was back in 2020.
And what made you sign up for that? I mean, you have a successful business, you have a great family, but there's always more out there. So I'm curious what made you decide to do that, sign up.
Well, this is all gradual. It's not like I went in the store and was like, man, let me get some of that instant Ironman juice, like it's not a just add water situation. It was gradual. Once again, I was, Zach, to be totally honest, it started with me deciding to learn how to swim. Because I consider I'm a leader in my circle, right? But I don't want to say use the word hate, but I don't like it when I'm being a hypocrite or when people like are teaching stuff, but they're not doing it themselves, right? So I'm like, man, I want to take my potential leadership to the next level. So how can I do that? Well, I want to face something that I'm just totally afraid of, which was water. I'm going to face my water fear. So in facing my water fear, I learned how to swim. That turned into a triathlon, which turned into a 2-mile Alcatraz swim, which boom, let me know that after I did that, this whole time I had been playing small in my life. Because that Alcatraz swim let me know that, man, I could have died thinking that was impossible. What else can I do? You know what I mean? What else can I do? You know what I mean? And that's where I realized that, I got in, start, getting into the training to do. I'm like, well, I just did a triathlon. Let's do an Ironman. So learning how to swim, to, facing the water fear, to Alcatraz swim, to, like this is about to get real interesting, right? But now, I use the Ironman training. This helped me out with this too. The Ironman training helps me with the day-to-day. And it helps me enhance the now. It really helps me enhance the now because sometimes the race never happens. Just like last year, they canceled it the day of, the morning of. But all through all the training, there's so many breakthroughs that I have within myself that I go, ooh, this is good stuff. Now I want to share with other people.
Man, I'm getting chills from this because I have a similar thing where I did. I'm in Philly. They have what's called a Broad Street Run, and it's 10 miles. Broad Street's like the main street, runs all throughout Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I always played sports and stuff growing up. I never really ran or anything, and I don't even remember why I signed up for it. Something in me was like, I want to do it, and I did it. I trained for it. It's funny. It's 10 miles, but when I was training, the most I did was 7.5.
Right.
I was worried. I'm like, shoot, can I do 10? Like I never did 10. I don't know. And long story short, I did it. And I really think that it really changed my life because it just opened up, like you were just saying, it's like, what's next? Like I did this. Why can't I do 15, 20 miles? So
right.
That's what I try to tell people too, is you really need to, how do you get more confident and how do you get better is you got to push yourself so that you can get to the next level.
Yeah. You just, and before that, you just have to start, right? My exercise journey started with Turbo Jam in the room with my wife, which is a step up from like a Richard Simmons thing.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah.
I don't know what we were doing. So I was doing Turbo Jam and, I was having smoke breaks during my walks. And then I got to 5 miles and I still have a cigarette after running 5 miles. So I literally fumbled and got stronger. You know what I'm saying? I fumbled at the 1 yard line. Like you run 5 miles and then have a cigarette. That's like fumbling on a run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's starting small is huge. And what's wrong with trying the impossible? I mean, I couldn't even wrap my brain around an Ironman 4 years ago. But it didn't start there. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times when we want to achieve something big, some people can do the big thing first and just go for it. But for me, what I found out, what's sustainable is having, setting a goal or going for something, and in that you get more insight on allowing you to raise the ceiling. You know what I mean? There's a saying that's out there that a lot of people wish for things their skill set can't keep, you know, or train for a race that their fitness can't handle. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that, you know, this training has definitely helped me with patience. And, you know, sometimes you try to go too fast. You want to get 6-pack abs in 6 weeks and then blow it out. And then next thing you know, you're hunched over for a whole week and you're back to eating chili cheese fries. So easy.
I feel like you're training for the Ironman for your first one. It's really could be like a metaphor for life, because I'm curious how you kind of, you know, when you have big goals and big challenges, you have to break it up into small goals and small steps. So when you're training for this and you've never ran 20 miles and swam and biked in one session, I'm curious, how did you approach this? Like, how did you break down your training in the beginning?
You know what? I got a coach, Zach. And this coach helped me realize, gave me some insight with, you know, the whole coach thing. And the reason why this is working this time for me, because I was one of those people who pay a lot of money for a coach and then didn't listen to him. You know, I'm talking about in business, you know, not necessarily training. Well, I guess you can say training too. But I finally got to a place where I was simply willing to do what I was told. He does all the thinking, programs it, comes into my phone. I log into the thing and go, whoo, that's what I got to do. Get up and do it. And it's funny, at one race, I thought I was smarter than the coach, right? Here we go again. Like, I got this figured out. We had it all planned out. And my first attempt at an Ironman, I failed at like mile 17 of the run. And I remember the coach was like, what happened? And I don't know what I said. He was like, we'll look at the data. So basically he said,
hold your card.
He called it. He looked at it. I went too hard on the bike, which blew me up for the run. And that's such a metaphor for a whole lot of things. You know what I mean? And it really humbled me even more in the process with, you know what? He's going to do the thinking. All I got to do is get my you-know-what up out of bed. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Zach, that's 3:15 in the morning. Because if I get up any other time on those days, it clashes. You mentioned, like, how do you fit that in? Well, one of the sacrifices that I have to, you know, accept was I'm going to have to become an early bird in order for it to work.
You know, it's funny. We're 3 different time zones. So people don't know, you're in the Bay Area. I'm in Philly. And there's been a couple times where I was going to send you a message in the morning and I'm like, I don't want to wake him up. Is it too early? And then I'm like, oh wait, it's Theautis. I know he's up. You know, it's 9 o'clock my time. I'm like, I know he's been up 3 hours already, so it's fine.
Right. And a lot of people, you know, I say I'm, you know, early bird and all that. I like to sleep. Trust me. I like to I love falling asleep. I love being in the bed all warm and gooey. But then if I don't get up and handle my business, the rest of my day just sucks. Because I had that little voice or just a reminder that, wow, if you would have did this earlier, you wouldn't have to worry about fitting it in now like that. I don't like that voice. Me and that voice don't get along. So I get up in the morning, you know, I get up early and it's just a great feeling because there's a different crowd at that time in the morning. Trust me. It's not too much. You don't see any stank face. There's actually the selfie. I don't see any selfies that early in the morning. It's all about business. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, let's handle our business and get out.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's all people there who are there to take care of business.
Yeah, it's but we're nice to each other. Like, hi, everyone's got this like crazy looking like, hey, so we're all buzzing like, yeah. No coffee either. Look, no coffee either. Just like,
Yeah, it's all just pure energy because you know, you have this habit built in and you love it. And then when you don't do it, you know, it becomes part of your life. And then when you don't do it, your life's different. So I agree with that. Because if I, you know, if I don't go to the gym or work out after a couple of days, I get that itch too, where I'm like, oh, I can't take any days off because this is what I want to do.
Right. And it's so for me, it's all the training that I'm doing, it's helping me, it's enhancing my relationship with my business and my marriage, with my kids. I mean, it's such a fundamental component to my life, right? That okay, if I can do the impossible with this training and get up early and swim 2.4 miles and ride 112 miles on the bike, then do a marathon, it's like I have the internal confidence now that whatever, they say whatever we focus on expands, right?
Right.
So if I want to grow my business, I have the blueprint for that. You know what I mean? If I want to make more money, if I want to give back more, if I want to start something, I have the framework to apply it to anything. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people aren't willing to make the sacrifice to get there, because we're in an immediate gratification type of world these days. If I can't get it in 30 days, I'm not interested. Like, nah.
Yeah. Or even 30 minutes, let alone 30 days.
6 weeks. It was like 75 hard. I'm like, you know what? That's so cute. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, try 365 days hard.
Yeah, that's cute, because I'm like, another thing I want to share is I'm 2 years into taking cold showers every day, 1 day at a time. Like, that is totally changed, like internally, like my nervous system. Like, I remember when I first got in, it was like playing double dutch. Like, you get in and you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting electrocuted. And now I can just step into the shower, right? And feel the cold water hit me, lights up my body. I don't have this crazy reaction anymore. And I haven't been sick. Get this, I haven't had a cold in 3.5 years.
Wow.
And
you attribute that to, because I'm curious, I've seen people talk about cold showers. I see a lot of athletes, they take ice baths, a lot of trainers and stuff. So I'm curious, what have you noticed that has changed, after all these years of taking cold showers?
Well, right now, the biggest thing is, I find myself reacting less and responding more to whatever it is, instead of like, or, you get bad news, like having a reaction, or someone rubs you the wrong way, you have that reaction. It's more, instead of reacting, it's more of a response. It's like a keto. You take the energy and you redirect it. So and the other part to that too is, although I've been doing them for 2 years straight, there's still some discomfort there, right? So the practice of doing something small that brings up discomfort on a daily basis, it preps me for, okay, if I want to do this, there's some do something new. There's some discomfort that's going to come along with it, right? And if you're not already practicing having a healthy relationship with discomfort, a lot of times you're going to get knocked down and you might not get back up when you come to a trouble spot with whatever new that you're taking on. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, that's a excellent point. I wish I would have mentioned it earlier, stuff about comfort zone and how, like, you have to step out of it. And if you really want to grow, everything uncomfortable, everything new is uncomfortable at first, but once you push through that, then you become comfortable.
Absolutely. And then once you get to that place, guess what?
Right. What's next? You're like, what's next? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like there's never a dull moment when you look at it from that point of view,
So you don't miss hot showers at all?
When it's, I take cold showers and then I let it get warm, or I still like them, but I make sure that I do cold first, because that's the mental part. Sometimes, there's some mornings where I'm like, you know what I mean? It's a situation, but I go through it, and I'm glad, like I said, 2 years into it now, I'm ready to step it up and turn that into like an ice bath situation. So, yeah.
Well, as we wrap it up here, so my last question, I always like to leave people with, some advice or something. So, and we kind of talked about it, but I want to directly ask, what's your advice for people who might be facing big or small challenges, and how can they overcome the obstacles and kind of metaphorically go from not being able to do any physical activity to doing an Ironman triathlon?
Well, I always, just real talk, Jack. For me, it was like, I don't know if it started with a burning desire, but you mentioned the universe. We get that little voice that calls us to do something. And what I've learned is to not let that voice go to voicemail. You know what I mean? We have to answer that call.
That's a
And
great quote. You have so many good quotes. That's a great one. Don't let that voice go to voicemail. That's awesome.
yeah, don't let the voice. Some people say it's God calling them, the universe, whatever your thing is. When you get that call, don't let it go to voicemail, because that is the key to taking you into that place that's going to give you more fulfillment that you're experiencing right now in the moment. So for anyone that, before someone says, oh man, I want to do this, how can I do this? Just take a quick inventory and see if there's any small voices you've been ignoring or you've been afraid to put some action behind. Take some inventory first before you go jump onto another 75 hard or whatever that's out there, and not to put that down, but you see what I'm saying? It's like a lot of times we already have the solution, but we're spending too much time trying to go to the exterior to find it. So I would say pay attention to that little voice and start off small. Like for me in the Ironman journey, it was simply, I wanted to learn how to swim. And in that process, things were activated, certain thoughts were activated, certain people came into my life that weren't there before because of that one decision set off this ripple effect that put me in a whole nother reality, a different community, different connections that empowered me to continue to think bigger as far as like taking my fitness to the next level. So don't figure it all at once. Just make a decision to do one thing first, right? And then be patient in that process.
Man, it's been a great interview. So inspiring. I hope there's so many takeaways from this. I hope someone takes away at least one thing. Really, you should be taking away at least 100 things, all the stuff we talked about. But this has been great, man. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know you don't really have much to promote, but if you want, you can promote your social media. I know you have, we have some listeners across the country. Maybe there's someone who wants to buy a house in the Bay. Who knows? But, you post so much good inspirational stuff. So if you want to, whatever you want to promote anything right now would be the time to promote whatever.
Right on. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm not done. Like, this year, I had the Bridge to Bridge swim. So I might have to come back on here and give you some insight on how that went. Because I still don't like sharks, and I don't think I ever will. But
well, first of all, definitely gonna have you on again. But I think real quick, if you have a minute to spare, let's talk about that. So you didn't know how to swim, you taught yourself how to swim, and now you're swimming along the Golden Gate Bridge, right? What is the swimming you're doing?
Yeah, it's called the Bridge to Bridge swim. I think it's 6.2 miles, and it goes from the Golden Gate to the Bay. So they take you out in this little Jaws boat that right. They tell you to jump out and then go that way.
You're on your own. Good luck.
No, it's organized. So yeah, at least that part.
Yeah. Well, the message is, though, you went from not knowing how to, I don't know if you're scared of water, you just didn't know how to swim. You went from learning how to swim inside into a pool, you stuck with it, and now you're literally swimming, along the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, if that's not inspirational, I don't know what is.
Right on. Yeah, it's still I'm still processing that, but once again, I realized that we have so much power that's dormant inside of us. So if I can help, wiggle or shake some of that stuff loose with people who, you know, get to watch this, man, reach out. I'm here. It's amazing. I can't even describe what I'm feeling internally by being present in that process from pool to the bay. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
That's your origin story. That's your superhero story right there.
Right on.
Well, with that being said, you know, like you said, you just said you hope this helps someone and reach out. This has helped me. I reach out to you all the time. I appreciate you. You know, we have great conversations. And you personally helped me a lot, so I really appreciate you coming on here.
Right on, Zach. Anytime, my man. Listen, have an amazing Friday, and thanks again for having me on. Okay.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, we'll check in with you in a couple months.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Theautis.